I think I've been probably using Andromeda even before Andromeda was even notified.
This is a new way to set up your campaigns using content diversification, using one campaign, one ad set, and up to 50 ads. How do you transition from the old way of doing it to test this out? That is a question that I think we get every single week. And I know that's things that I see. We have a Telegram group for like 500 agency owners. They're all asking these types of questions. So I don't think we can reiterate that enough because people are a little bit afraid to try it for the first time. How do I actually transition it over? Because you've got a level of comfort now, having spent, I'm assuming it's $6, $7, $8 million on this thing.
Yeah, and 10 months of it.
In 10 months. And that's a long period of time. So
yeah, I think I've been probably using Andromeda even before Andromeda was even, I know I was before it was notified, but I think I was on Andromeda when our account was launched on Andromeda. For some reason, I just hit the nail on the head when we moved 15 campaigns down to one and everything just started scaling insane. I'm like, whoa. When we boil it down to the really simple effect that this has is what I've noticed, whether it's launched on its own, like Andromeda campaign is launched on its own in an account, or it's launched in addition to or in tandem with previous campaign structures that were on the pre-Andromeda update model, so the old style.
Yeah,
that is something that we've learned how we have to like pause all the other campaigns, launch Andromeda, and then what happens. And I had this one campaign we launched a week ago, less than a week ago. It was actually on the 31st. So we're looking at like 6 days ago. And we launched the campaign. We increased the ad spend by like 2K. And I think the client like kind of hopped in and like shut it off almost immediately. And he's like, oh, look, the CP is way too high. We're just going to be
way too high.
Yeah, like, exactly.
Get out of my ad account, first off. But secondly.
Well, it's kind of funny because it was, there's always going to be like wait a minute, this is another marketing team. I'm on my 17th marketing team in my life.
Right.
How are they also going to need my guidance? So our industry has unfortunately trained our clients to be like, I don't trust you. And so when we're like
not really paying attention, if they don't see anything, if they know how to look in a change log, they're like, well, John isn't in there manipulating stuff. It's like, well, John set it up and now is waiting.
Right. Or it's like this one here for fun. I'm just going to clone this view because this is my case study that we're going to be looking at today. But I'm going to clone the view to a little bit time before. So let's go back in time here. I'm just going to use like this, not compare this time period. This is the Andromeda campaign. And this, when I say Andromeda campaign, I don't mean Andromeda campaign. I mean, this is the one that's using the Andromeda recommended structure for the algorithm that we're currently in. So like, this is the current campaign, I should say. This is the old style. You got your ABOs, your CBOs.
This is actually good. So this is my job, is to remind you that we haven't gone through this as much. It's like how to transition over. And I see a couple of questions to this regard about like happy imports and in general, but if somebody, this is their first show and haven't been watching us for quite some time, a lot of these videos are getting like thousands of views now. So, which is really cool. The point is there are probably some people, this is their first time ever watching what we're talking about here. So it's okay for us to sort of reiterate it, but also if they understand, all right, this is a new way to set up your campaigns, using content diversification, using one campaign, one ad set, and up to 50 ads. Like, how do you transition from the old way of doing it to test this out, or at least figure out, all right, now I'm going to go down this path that I learned from these crazy YouTube videos for these two guys that come on every Friday.
Right.
So, like, that is a question that I think we get every single week. And I know that's things that I see, like we have a Telegram group for like 500 agency owners. They're all asking these types of questions. So I don't think we can reiterate that enough because people are a little bit afraid to try it for the first time. How do I actually transition it over? Because you've got a level of comfort now, having spent, I'm assuming it's like $6, $7, $8 million on this thing.
Yeah, and 10 months of it.
In 10 months, and that's a long period of time. So
yeah, I think I've been probably using Andromeda kind of even before Andromeda was like even, I know I was before it was notified, but I think I was on Andromeda when like our account was launched on Andromeda. Like for some reason, I just hit the nail on the head when we moved 15 campaigns down to one and everything just started scaling like insane. I'm like, whoa. And then all of a sudden later on, it was like, we want you to consolidate. I'm like, that's exactly what I was doing. So I end up just being like the right place at the right time by myself. So it was just kind of funny. But
well, the harder you work, the luckier you get, though.
That's true. That's very true. So here's what's
so if we could answer that question, because I know that's going to be things that people are going to be like, well, this all sounds good, but how do I do it now after spending so much and having so much experience in so many different areas. And we're not just talking about e-com here. We've talked about like lead gen. We've talked about service-based businesses. We've got a service-based business that we're doing this right now on tiny little budgets. And it's really starting to kick in and increase the lead quality and ultimately the customer count. So it's like there's a lot of different scenarios on how you leverage all this. And I don't think we can talk about it enough because this is the future.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. And I think like it's and this is like a perfect little use case. So it was interesting as I had this is a client that we're transitioning into the updated model that we're on now with Andromeda. Yep. And I'm using, first click CAPI imports just because that's how I like to retrain the pixel into, that's what's new actually coming from Meta rather than what is attributed by Meta. Big difference there. Yep. And we had a campaign that was
telling Meta to go find new customers with actual real new customer data that that's the key to this whole thing. So anyway, keep going.
Yeah. And so what we had a campaign that was launched on the 29th on that Friday. And so you see me in here at, basically 5:30 a.m. in the morning, $9 to like $800 per day, pending process to active, launched here at 5:36. And then after that was active.
So when you went to bed or that when you woke up?
I that's kind of at my, it could be one or it could be the other. I'm not sure.
I'm not really sure. I don't really remember that day. Yeah. Hoping it's in like a different time zone, like, the time zone of the ad account where you are.
I know it wasn't because I actually have it next morning when we're talking. So that's probably about right. So this campaign went live here.
Seems like,
yeah. It's this campaign, basically everything was built out. And then this campaign was launched here at 5:36 a.m. We went active and then like that was on the 29th. And then we have it 1, 2, 3 days later. Someone comes in who's the owner and says, hey, and pauses it at midnight on the 12/18. I wake up the next morning and was paused active, got a text and says, hey, looks like the new Andromeda campaign is just kind of like hemorrhaging some cash. I went ahead and paused it.
Yeah.
All right. Now
you slept in that day though. It's 10:43 a.m.
What's funny?
Yeah, right.
That one, I was like, I wake up, I'm like, and so I'm like, I have to like go through like, my morning calls, a couple of them, and then I have to go investigate. And I had to shoot him a Loom video, and then the Loom video was seen, and then we agreed to kind of turn it back on. But we ended up reducing it down because while it was working, and we'll show how we were like going after new so hard that we were eating into the mirror. And I was like, well, we'll talk about the decisions like we'll get your opinion and the audience's opinion. So it's kind of fun, but
I love this case study. By the way,
it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Perfect. This is perfect. Yeah. This is the typical response. It's like, oh my God, everything's going to shit.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's like, oh my God, the poor client woke up and saw 118, 58, 70, and my campaign at 362. It's like, John, what are you doing?
What are you doing? You're killing
me. Exactly. Jesus, man. All right. So watch this. This is what's interesting is I've taken a time period between when it was basically launched on like kind of the 29th. I'm trying to get a little bit of a time period in between because this is actually what's really cool. Is what you'll notice is the campaign spent $2,800 total for between the first $1,400 on the 27th, 29th, 30th, and the second $1,400 on the 31st, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Yep. Now, in between these time periods is when it was paused. So we're basically looking at a perfect, 1,400. So we have about 8 days worth of activity. You can see that the before and after is exactly the same spend, 1.79. Reason why is things were turned on, but also readjusted. So we basically spent about the same amount of money during this time period. Now, the client looks and says, okay, so you spent $1,400, you got a $350. And then the next 4 days, you spend $1,450. So you went up a little bit in spend by like $43, but then your cost per purchase went up by $10. So you went from $351 to $362. This just isn't working. Look at these campaigns. Just ignore this trib. This is actually this is a campaign that's just sending traffic to Dick's Sporting Goods because our products are there. So we just ignore that one out of your mind. It has nothing to even do with our website. It's just clicks to Dick's Sporting Goods.
Yep.
Exactly. Yep. So we have to have that. But actually, oh no, I don't want all tools. I'm going to do this and I'm going to filter by active. There we go. So it looks like this says, hey, your campaign is getting worse. This campaign got 12% better. This campaign got 56% better. This campaign got 35% better. And they're all spending the same. So your campaign, I would agree. If you look at this saying, these are spending about the same rate as this in terms of increase and decreases. These are getting way better. That's getting worse. And I like these a lot more than that. Yeah,
Sure.
that would be a fair assessment. That is what's interesting is the owner looking at the media buyer metrics and not the owner's business. And so that's kind of the thought process we have to change here is the owner shouldn't dive into media buying metrics. The owner should be looking at his business.
Yeah.
So what I did is I redirected the owner's attention away from the media buying metrics over to the business and then correlated it with media buying data. So watch this. If we look at the campaign here,
by the way,
what's that?
Instead of looking at metrics that don't matter, looking at metrics that actually matter.
But it's brand new to a lot of business owners. They've been trained to kind of, go after the media buyer because we have to make sure that that person's looking at the metrics and making the right decisions. 100%. So it's definitely, I can see the mentality shift here is very difficult.
Oh God, yeah. We've both been in this situation hundreds of times. Probably,
exactly.
So anyway,
exactly.
Go ahead. Typical.
So we have 4 new customers this day and 4 new customers that day. Now, one thing that I noticed though is this campaign here went from spending $3,500 to $3,600, so same spend, and the CPA went from 109 down to 70. Okay, that's kind of interesting. And so our purchases went up by 62%. Now, this is what I love being able to filter between new and returning. Is this one here had 32 sales, and it shows 28 new for returning 32. Okay, that makes sense. Now watch the ratio of 28 and 4 go to 48 and 3.
Ooh,
that's kind of interesting.
Okay,
and then we go to this one. This one went from 3 new and 6 returning.
Yeah.
To 11 new and 6 returning.
Right.
Okay, so now it's going after more cold.
Okay.
Then this one went from 4 new and 4 returning to 6 new and 1 returning.
So all does not seem as it appears.
So then I said, well, if we spent the same, we're basically $126 difference. What's our back end metrics? So we look at the date range of the 27th, 28th, 29th, and 30th, these 4 days, which are this period here. Right. And we had 74 new customers in Shopify. And then we said, okay, well, let's look at the next period, 8/31 to 9/03. And that is here, 8/31 to 9/03 as 115. Ooh, interesting. So now what we're looking at is if we're pulling out the calculator, the handy dandy notebook, as Blue's Clues likes to say, 115 minus 74 is 41. So we have 41 new customers, and all we did was simply just rechange the structure, and we only spent $126. So it's almost like the restructuring of 126 and 41, 126 divided by 41. Oops, 126 divided by 41, not times. Basically a $3.07 incremental NCAC by changing the model. So $126 increased, and we're buying new customers at basically $3 a new customer. That's the effect of it.